Once the portfolio and sub-portfolio data have been defined and collected, views must be created to enable the key stakeholders to make decisions. They are represented graphically as bubble, pie, and bar charts. These views should show how well the portfolio aligns with the stated goals and objectives. They should articulate whether it was successful in achieving the expectations, value, and risk reduction expected by management. The views should address all potential risk exposures and demonstrate risk mitigation strategies. The tasks in building the portfolio views include identifying decision points and risk and return scenarios, that is, views that identify the types of decisions to be made up front. Identifying the characteristics and relationships that will be used in the analysis to enable the recognition of interdependencies and ripple effects when what-if scenarios are tested. Building models and views such as charts for use in analysis and decision-making. Most of this work is done by the portfolio management team, probably with the help of a financial expert. This is fundamentally an assembly activity, preparing portfolio information for key decision-makers to poke, prod, and act upon. This activity is also where the portfolio team begins to discover whether the selected tools are appropriate, inadequate, or overkill. Unfortunately, in the absence of a good method for portfolio management, it is all too common to see efforts hindered at this point because of the team went on the cheap, using a spreadsheet and graphics program, when a more robust portfolio management solution should have been implemented. Purchased a shotgun to kill a fly, buying an expensive portfolio management application and overpopulating it with every conceivable piece of data only to discover that key stakeholders wanted something quick and dirty. Did not have a good grasp of processes before making an portfolio management software purchase. Therefore, the logic of the portfolio software program dictated the actual business logic of the management process, resulting in severe mismatches between the needs and demands of portfolio management and the capability delivered. Portfolio views should enable identification of redundant investments, since there are typically many redundancies in applications within most large companies, for example, multiple CRM, portal, ERP. The views should identify many of these duplications. Also, advanced views will isolate covariance and correlations between various investments. Determining these elements provides insightful detail into the impact of accelerating, downsizing, halting, or eliminating an investment. Isolation of areas of synergy, sharing lessons learned and looking to reuse components wherever possible. This is an underestimated benefit of portfolio management. Identification of constraints and interdependencies such as infrastructure, costs, schedule, labor, timing, alternatives, technologies, and core competencies. Assessment of how the expected outcome of an investment or a sub-portfolio meets short and long-term objectives, to what degree, and how this might close out gaps identified in the enterprise reference architecture and requirements. From the stakeholder assessment, that is part of the game plan, baseline assessment, it is important to understand the views that are of most interest to each stakeholder segment, and design the analysis and graphical presentations around these needs. For instance, financial personnel might be interested in financial views. Also, financial and managers are interested in knowing actual versus budget costs, value, and risk, current month and year-to-date figures for investment categories, like run, grow or transform the business, versus portfolios, discovery, project, asset, mandatory versus discretionary investments, by investment category, risk versus reward, value percent versus cost. spending allocations and total cost of ownership for run versus grow versus transform the business, by quarter, by year, by division business unit, by product line or by geography. As a starting point, companies should consider simply defining the portfolio pie by spending to facilitate a dialogue between business and it. Good candidates are: show how much of the overall budget is spent on projects and programs. Show how much of the overall budget is spent on base activities and operations and upgrades. Demonstrate the amount of effort going into supporting incremental changes that are part of the basic operations activities.